So I can't do the background music right now. So the music's going, pretend the music's going.
Oh,
I
we're
think
live.
I don't think it'll let me do the yeah, we're live. I don't think it'll let me do the music.
Oh, let's
From
get
the,
to the bottom of this one. I'm
once we stupid on this one.
gonna do it.
I don't know all the lyrics because I ain't the one who sang it.
I know a lot of them, and I wake up singing them sometimes.
It was my ringtone even. But anyways, we're trying something for the first time, and so far, it's knocked my socks off. So this might be our permanent thing. It
Oh,
wasn't that difficult, was it?
I don't know. I'm not sure what's not difficult anymore.
I
It
feel
all
you.
seems to be confusing.
I feel you. I feel you.
I either have no problems or I'm pulling the hair out.
Yeah,
And I've got a lot of it.
All right, there's no middle.
There is no middle ground. No.
no, there is none. But anyway, so I'm gonna share this to everywhere and put my followers in. I didn't even realize it was already past the time because I was trying to figure out how to put the music on.
Oh yeah, but your boy Henry swooped in and did a little disclaimer on Facebook while we were doing this, saying we're having troubles.
Yeah, thank you. Not really troubles. It's new. It's new.
Right. Well, I said troubles with streaming services.
We
They get
can't
it.
we can't allow them to give us trouble. We're not giving them that title. So, anyways, David, today we're going to talk about your books, and you got like over 8 of them, and then you got two more coming on the way. So,
Yeah,
the subject is this said this is demonstration for the banner. This is not how it will look. Well,
That
isn't
is
that
not our
nice?
subject.
That is not our subject. I typed our subject in there, and I don't know where it went to. I think it's because it's the free version that this is all we can see.
Let's roll with it. I'm against simple banners. No.
I'm against simple banners, and I don't even know how to remove it. So at the end of the day, we're going to talk about making your mark and what does it look like. What does it mean to you when you came up with that title?
yeah. That you know what? That was actually uh, inspired by friends and people that I've met like along the way that have observed my, I guess, my journey. And um, sometimes we're not aware of the impact that we make until somebody brings it to our attention. And I was having a moment of reflection with this last book that I wrote, and I've had a couple of people that said that they kind of watched my process with the process of writing a book, and it encouraged them to see if they could do it, right? Because they saw me do it a few times over by now. And that's not something that I saw coming. I'm grateful that it happened the way that it did, but was that my original thing that I thought about doing? Like when I started? Of course not. Like I just had something to say, and I wasn't going to, like I said before, make myself sick suppressing it. So whether it came out to a book, whether it came out to my podcast, whether it came out verbally, I was going to say whatever it was that was on my mind and my heart at that time. And because of that, it's put me in great spaces. It's put me amongst my tribe and people that really just let me just be. Like I'm not conforming, I'm not confined or anything of that nature. And that was based on conversations that I've had. Uh, so was I looking to encourage other people to write books of their own? No. Originally I wasn't. I just had something to say. But do I now that I've done it, do I acknowledge that that's become part of my process and my journey? Yeah. So I love the fact that people have watched me be consistent with it, right? They've watched me kind of have this thing of, well, this is the direction I'm going in, and you're more than welcome to come. I'm not selfish about it, but I'm not going to continuously change my mind just because somebody doesn't want to go. Because if I always change my mind based on somebody else not going, then I'll never do anything. I'll never get anything done. If every time somebody leaves the process, I say, well, this person left, so therefore I'm not going to do what I feel called to do in this particular moment. And so That's what, to me, making your mark has kind of come to, I guess, symbolize, right? Because I have, like in hindsight, I have, whether I sell it to one person or 500 people, but in some way, shape, or form, I have made my mark. And these are books, just like music, are things that will always be around, whether I write one or whether I write 20. My books will always be around, just like my podcast. And so when I think of making your mark, that's what comes to mind for me specifically is things that even though you may have moved on, um, people can still come across your stuff, whether it's a book, whether it's music, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a business you started, even though you might have moved on and had other successes and things of that nature that come along the way, the stuff that you built already will always be around. And if people resonate with it, then it doesn't matter whether it takes a year or 5 years, they're still going to come across your stuff. So when I think of making your mark, to me, that's what comes to mind when I think of making your mark.
Okay, okay. So Henry, what you heard that you received that? That's probably what he was trying to say.
Oh no, I absolutely did receive it. As a matter of fact, I have similar thoughts on that. I love that the title of it. I like that because I write music. That's how I make my mark. And I realized that now that I've got songs and they've went out in the Facebook and they're getting shared around and they're out on the some kind of waves, they're never going away. They're going to be bouncing off the planets forever. Throughout everywhere, throughout wherever it goes, and that's incredible to me. I absolutely so happy about that. I've made my mark audibly, and I'm also kind of in awe of book writing because it's something I really want to do, but my attention span has not let me. And I've really been working on tactics, but it might be just something I got to talk about on the podcast or something. But either way, that's really inspiring to me as well. So yeah, I love it. I love that, David.
Yeah. I mean, another part of it too was I got sick of feeling as though I was always waiting on permission, right? Like waiting on permission from somebody to tell you like how talented you are or to put you around certain opportunities or things of that nature. Like I felt like I don't know if you felt this way too, Henry, but I felt like I was just in a hallway and it was just like these never ending doors. And then you kind of just decide to pick one. And then the one that you pick ends up being the one that really fits you. And I felt like originally, early on, I felt like at first I was just waiting, like waiting for my books to get to a certain point, waiting for my podcast to get to a certain point. And I found that I got sick of waiting. So the powerhouse and all of these things that have been called, it came from not waiting. That's really where it came from. And I get told every once in a while that I should slow down, but that's not necessarily how I feel. Like I feel like I still have the energy to do more. That's always my driving force. I feel like I always have the energy to do more. And when I take a break, I do. I'm not a machine, but it's one thing when you yourself want to recognize the work that you put in, and you say, you know what, I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna chill. Versus somebody else telling you like, hey, I think you're doing too much. Like I think you should stop. And that's also something that I've dealt with at different parts of the journey because I I love speed. Like I love when you're in that zone of genius. Nobody can tell you what it is, even though people may try. But nobody can really tell you what your zone of genius is. So they might say, "Well, you're running circles around me." I'm not trying to. Like I'm not trying to. But it's like, no, I'm just in my zone of genius. And so, yeah,
That's a good observation. I don't feel so much in a hallway. I feel like I'm looking at the hallway from in a room. There's a bunch of doors that I want to go and open and mess around with. And I think multiple doors can be great too. I mean, not too many.
yeah,
So I'm trying to get to that point. It's weird the agreements that get put on us. And I think holding back and not doing enough with what you really want to do with your art will can drive you really crazy.
yeah, yeah. That part.
So Jewsby, What do you think when you hear that making your mark? What does it look like? Someone's got feedback.
Um, what making my mark would look like or mean to me.
There it goes.
Probably. Is there anything wrong with my audio? I'm good.
It was Henry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I heard some kind of little fuzzy noise in the back too. I didn't know what it was, but okay. So making my mark and what it looks like. Pretty much, being able to see the positive change unfold and knowing that it's connected to something that I represent. Like that's honestly what I would categorize as, making my mark. It has nothing to do with anything material or whatever. It's more so, just seeing the change and how people interact when they consume the music and when they consume the messages or whatever messages I have to deliver. Just how they react to those things and how they utilize some of those things in their everyday life in order to change certain ways or in order to become better than they once were. That's really what I'm in this thing for. Like, at the end of the day, we all want to make a living. We all want to be, successful across the board, whatever we're selling, whatever we're dealing with. But at the end of the day, the way we interact with one another means more to me than, anything material. So if I can know that I had a hand in changing the way someone views life or someone viewed a certain situation and they didn't have that certain perspective prior to coming across my material or whatever it is that they came across that affected them at that way, then I would consider that me making my mark for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. When I was talking to David earlier, I said, "Okay, David, I need a little bit more than just a description of you. I want to know what your title's about." When I was talking to him, he left me a little voice message on what it meant to him, and I was like, now just not just the limitations of what I'm close to growing through the aw. It's only dark in the middle. Remember that, brother. It's only dark in the middle. I apologize. So I asked Finito, I don't know, the man of many names, when is he gonna come back on? And he is like, he's almost ready. He's almost growing through what he was growing through. So, but anyways, limitations put upon us not just by others, not from other people's beliefs and agreements and stuff, but there are also limitations put on by ourselves.
Yeah.
We
For
tend to
sure.
put on our own limitations thinking that either we're not good enough or that we just can't because we're only human. What are we going to do? What can we do because we're only human? Or, you know, um, no one's perfect. So there are limitations that we are putting upon ourselves and that make us feel like we're not able to go further.
I agree.
I agree.
I mean, caps are only there when you allow them to be. Once you free yourself, you remove the ceilings, there's no caps. It's limitless. So if you really want to make a difference in this world and you want a different for you, then you really have to remove all those agreements that you even put upon yourselves, let alone just what you allow others to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you think though, David, when you first wrote a book that you were going to write 8, 10?
No. I was going, honestly, full transparency, man. I was going to write the one book at the time and go back to work because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it, right? Because at the time I had jumped around a lot um, when I was trying to find myself and what jobs and things of that nature would really work for me. I had jumped around a whole lot. And I was just going to write that one book and go back to whatever I was doing. I did not plan on becoming known for book writing. And it's funny because sometimes what we don't think we're meant to do is actually what we're meant to do. And I was just going to write the one book and that was it. Like, I was like, okay, well, I proved that I could block out the noise of other people and finish whatever it was that I had set out to do, right? Because that was my original intention for writing a book was to prove that from start to finish. I wouldn't deviate. I wouldn't give up per se in the midst of it. I would stick to what I said I was going to do. I had set the intention behind writing a book, and so I had done that. I was like, okay, I'm proud of myself for this. However, people went into, I joke about it, but people went into um, kind of like a petition. They're like, no, we love what you said, so we're going to need you to keep going. Because I wrote um, at the time about breaking free of feeling as though you're just going through life doing as you're told.
Mm.
That was one
That
of my
fire.
first,
Damn, that's heavy.
That's fire.
because the name of the book was, and I really started getting into like the symbolism behind animals. So, fun fact, I love that type of stuff. So, I looked up the meaning behind lions and eagles. And that's what I went with on my first book because I was feeling this thing of I like my job, but there's more to life than just my job. Like there's more to life than just paying bills. And I really resonated with an eagle eye with a lion's heart, how introverts can break barriers. That was my first book, like ever. And eagles have a great way of seeing you before you see them. Like they have
Yes.
like amazing vision, and they will zero in on you before you know it. And before you know it, they've taken your food, they've taken whatever it was, right? Because they see it from a distance. And I found that when I started studying like visionaries and people that have grand, like big visions for themselves, a lot of them know it before they even step into the role. Like before they may speak it out loud, they may write it out, whatever they do, but they have a key vision on where they see themselves. And they don't allow anyone or anything to get in the way of that. Hiccups happen, yeah, but they don't allow the overall vision to be tainted by people who have left. And when I started looking at it like that, I really resonated with um, lions and eagles because I'm very much lion-hearted when I say that I'm going to do the thing, whatever the thing happens to be. So that was my very first book, and that turned into an unexpected career, I guess you could call it. Because I was just going to write the one book and then go back to whatever I was doing. But
Before we get too far, can you post that in a comment what you said? Because that's bars. I'm
For sure.
serious.
For sure that was
I'm
a
dead
bar.
serious. That's bars. Can you post it in the comment, please?
all right, if I could, where is it?
It'll say post comments right at the bottom. It should have.
Oh, you're asking a lot. We got to manipulate this thing and use it. I'm
Yeah,
scared.
that's bars. I don't even care.
I appreciate it, y'all. I appreciate it, man.
Yes.
Sometimes people say words that need to be heard over and over again, and others need to say it. So that's something heavy that I think that a lot of people resonate with, and a lot of people can use that.
Matt Withers, that's what I'm doing right now is working on removing false limitations. Yeah, we do hold ourselves back.
I asked him when he's ready to come home. He said he's almost through the storm.
I know that you asked him that. That was awesome. Brother, when are you ready to come home? I thought that was a dope ass comment from brother. Just sounds epic.
I removed his photo just because there wasn't enough room for everybody. Doesn't mean I removed you. Never.
I know we gotta. Not that I don't like Danny or whatever. We gotta swap him and David. Can we do that so that Evie Mux isn't all over David? This whole
I
thing. I
don't
feel
know how.
you don't know how. It's driving me nuts because he's talking. I can't look.
Let me see it. I don't know how. Oh, there we go. Look at that.
Perfect. I like that. That's good.
Listen, though, I just wanted it to be one of his hats because he's a thing. He has a thing for hats. He's a man of many hats, for real, for real.
We spoke before the podcast.
He's got every picture he sends me. He's got so many different hats on. It's hilarious, and it matches his personality. I don't know if they're costumes or if that's just because you feel like being free. You find it?
I did not. I'm looking. I see super chat.
It's you know. Do you see any comments?
Um, I see the search bar. I see the area where I see everyone else like writing stuff. Um,
Comments, search.
Henry, do you see where you can post a comment?
I'm also looking. We got a private chat. Why don't you just post the comments? You can't
Henry,
talk.
Henry, you're a collaborator, so you should be able to see comments.
I can see comments.
Do you see where it says post a comment next to the word all?
I'm looking, but I'm not seeing it. New tech here.
So what you got to do is slide your thing over, Henry. There's a little arrow,
Okay.
and then at the
Oh,
top it says comments. At the bottom
well.
it says all, and then it'll say post comment next to it.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't have that. What the buzz? Sorry, everybody. Group. Crazy.
What did you say? Because I could post it if you tell me what you said.
So what I was talking about. Um,
What was the bars? What was that bars? I want that line.
okay, so I was talking about lions and eagles and how they can.
Before that, it was before that.
Um,
Shit. Do you remember it, Jewsby? I
It
smoke
was
hella
so.
weed.
No, I didn't get a chance to write it down.
See, I smoke hella weed. I'm just being honest.
That's
I'm just
exactly
being
what
honest.
I'm doing. I didn't get. I was just soaking it up.
I'm just being honest. I just felt knowledge hit me, and I was like, "Whoa,
So dead ass. I was hoping it would show up in the comments so I could actually read it in detail. I
yeah,
got.
I
I
wanted it
got
too." I just knew it was heavy as hell, and it was bars.
something I agreed with.
We all agreed with it was universal. That's okay. Hey, I think the best time in a studio is to record as soon as you walk in,
that
not
part.
when you get ready to record, because some of the best things are on recordable. Like people didn't catch them. People did not catch that, and I was like, damn. Even the lines when you didn't try your hardest came out like the crispest. Can you relate to that, Juice?
For sure, you got to strike while the iron's hot. That's numero uno, rule number one, because it'll slip your mind that quick. So
Right?
if it's right there,
Facts,
you gotta put it down on paper.
facts. That's one of those moments we didn't bust the camera out.
What do they say? Like when the spirit gets to talking, you better listen.
Yeah, because
There you
that's
go.
what
There you
happened.
go.
That's what happened, my guy.
There you go. Yeah.
That's what
Usually
happened.
around 3 a.m.
One of
3 a.m. is
your ancestors
spirit.
popped in and said, I got something to say.
Right?
Yep, yep. You got to get it documented. You know.
And then they dropped the seasoning and walked out.
Yeah.
We just cooked that one. All right, go back. I apologize. Continue with your story about your second book.
So so my first book was about breaking free
Hmm.
from doing as you're told. And a
Hmm.
lot of us we
It was based on that though. Whatever you said was based on that.
um see, y'all are helping me get it back. See how this works?
It was based on that. It was based on breaking free.
Um so my first book was about like breaking free and just doing as you're told because I feel like a lot of us we live a lot of supposed to, right? Like you're supposed to do this, supposed to do that. And while it has its benefits, um, I don't think that's how you should spend your whole life living, based on supposed to. And so that's what got me into like my first book was wanting to break free from that, and that turned into 8 books, like I said. My second book was based on my time in network marketing. People don't know it because I don't talk about it, but I did have a short stint in the network marketing space. And um, that's where lions and wolves, the differences between entrepreneurs and network marketers came from, because there was a big difference between the two, right? So neither one is bad, but there are key differences between both. And when I realized that, I surrounded myself with people that were already doing that. And I was like, hey, so can I just observe you guys and write a book? And they were like, yeah, you can kind of share our experiences and things of that nature. So that's what encouraged my second. It was kind of going over my brief stint in network marketing, but it was based on people that I saw doing it and kind of differentiating entrepreneurs from network marketers. Because at the time, people that were network marketers were thinking that they were entrepreneurs, when entrepreneurship is based on something that you created yourself. It's not you signing up for something and then getting a commission or getting a piece. It's something that, whether it's music, whether it's books, whatever your thing happens to be, it's yours at the end of the day. Like, it's your book, it's your program, it's your music, whatever it may be. And I found that from my observation, people were getting the two confused or mixed up. And so, based on who I was around at that time, I got the green light to write a book on that. So that's what my second book was about. It was about explaining the differences between both, like entrepreneurs and network marketers, and not getting the two like mixed up.
Is that the one where you had all the people as a panel across the cover?
So that was book number 6.
Oh, okay.
You can overcome anything with clarity. Volume 9. That was what do they call them? An anthology of different writers and people from all walks of life that came together.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's what that one was. That was
Yeah.
you can overcome anything with clarity. And the
I would
person who
like to
came up
know.
with it. Yeah, go
You
ahead.
like what?
I would like to know if you predominantly just like writing nonfiction or have any aspirations to write fiction in the future. It sounds like you mostly like nonfiction.
I do like nonfiction, but I am open to like fiction stuff, like because I want to differentiate my writing. Um, I love the inspirational stuff and all that, but
Yeah,
I want to see what other type of writer I could be. Like I'm always looking to kind of, I guess you could probably like one up myself. So yeah, I'll be open to like a fiction if I get the idea, or if I'm brainstorming with somebody and they have like a great idea that they may not know what to do with. Then yeah, I'm open to fiction. Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. Mhm.
I was curious about that. Your
Do
writings
you
all make sense to it. Good,
do,
good.
do you guys have something that just bothers you in this world that, and no matter what, you try to not think of it, and it just bothers you? You can't it can unbothered by it. No matter how much you try to get it out of your head, it's constantly it just bothers you every time you hear it or see it.
Do we?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I am glad I'm not the only one because that word "but" gets me every time I hear someone say it. I'm like, that's such an uncertainty. You're wishy-washy. Like it's either or. A "but" is a period. You might as well just put a period in it and go on with your next sentence. That word "but" kills me. I just want to make sure it wasn't me. The whole time I'm just like, man, I wish he's so smart. I don't know why he says "but" all the time. It's not just you though. I do it with everybody. I just want to make sure I wasn't the only one. It must be a Capricorn thing because boy, that just
It might be. It might be a
that
Capricorn.
word "but" is like
You do
It's
not like
definitely a
the word.
Capricorn thing.
it's gotta be. I'm glad I'm not the only because all the time I'm just like either or, man. Which one do you want? Because "but" is like no matter what. It's like anything you said before that no is irrelevant because now you put the "but" in it.
I don't necessarily think so. You could say, "Well, that was funny,"
But
but but
what's the "but"?
it
What's the
doesn't
"but"
negate
then?
the funny. It doesn't
No,
negate
it
the
doesn't.
funny.
But that funny is no longer the issue or no longer the key point because something else will be.
I agree. I'm just fighting you. I I love. I it's just it's text. It's context, I suppose. I
His
think when it's used as joking,
DDH.
it's
See,
funny.
anybody I speak to, I tell them, and I don't know.
It
I
comes
can't
out,
say
yeah.
I apologize because I don't, because it irritates my presence. So like, it says I've been trying my hardest to not use it. It just comes out. It really, honestly, does just come out.
Yeah,
But once you realize what it means, you eliminate it
true.
That's
because
funny.
it does just come out. But when I said but, that made that it just comes out no longer relevant. You feel me?
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Okay. No, go ahead. I apologize. None of that makes no difference. It was irritating me. Just being honest.
No, of course, I'm here for it. I wouldn't be up here. Like, listen, when people say that, I'm just being honest. I always tell them I wouldn't be in your space if I couldn't handle the truth.
Yeah, I feel
So,
it.
no, I'm here for it. No worries.
Honesty scares the shit out of a lot of people.
It does. It does. It's intimidating. I might have to put a cap in it and go steal the grandbaby because he's crying and he don't like them adults. Go ahead. Finish what your second, what your third book, right? We're on your third now.
So my third book was about realizing how much my grandfather had played a role in what I'm doing. And around the time he had just passed away, and I went out to Mississippi, I believe, to go see him. And when I saw him being put in the ground, the amount of people that came out in droves to support him, let him know that because of his example, they were going to do this. They were going to go to school. They were going to start a nonprofit. They were going to start a business, whatever it was at that time. That I didn't realize how hard that hit me until I left, until I got back home to my own space. And I I always say that my great ideas always happen after I say I wonder if. And I was like, you know what? I wonder if my grandfather was still around, what type of person would I be? And I just legit wrote a letter. Like it was like, "Hi grandpa, I hope you're well. This is what I've been doing since you passed and since you've been gone. This is what I've been doing. And these were things that I wanted to share with you, but I didn't have the chance because I was a little bit of a rebel at school. And so I had to pay for that by going to summer school. And that was the, the summer of, I believe, 2004. And I was meant to go see him. I was supposed to, but I couldn't because I had summer school at that time. And the last thing he said to me was, "Hey man, like I hope to see you. I hope to see you soon," or something along those lines. And that was my way of reaching back, kind of sort of touching the spirit a little bit and saying, well, I know that I couldn't see you when I wanted to, but here's how I've turned out despite wanting to see you but not being able to. I've written books, I've done this, I've done that. So it became my third book was called Entrepreneurial Spartans, a grandson's tribute. And it was okay, so since you're not here anymore, whatever books I can put you in, whatever podcasts I can talk about you on, I'm going to. And it became just my way of paying homage. And so he's been like the catalyst. I always call him the catalyst for me continuing to push, me continuing to have this never say die attitude about keeping things going within my family and that dynamic and deciding like, okay, like I see what my grandfather was attempting to do. So in my own way, I'm going to keep that going. And as long as I'm around, entrepreneurship is not going to die. It's not going to die with me because I saw his example and I just wanted to find my own way of keeping that example going. Right. So he was into real estate and was very handy. He was a very handy entrepreneur, whereas I'm more of a thought leader. So my things are about like just getting things off my chest. Right. So between books and podcasting and all that stuff. But he had his own three or four things that he did. So he was very handy. He had a nonprofit, he was in real estate, um, he had a TV repair shop because back in the day, that was the thing to do. It was very much about your hands, getting your hands dirty, being as handy as you could be. So I took his example and I was like, you know what? I know you're not around. In spirit, you are. In spirit, he is. I know you're not around physically. So again, here's what I've been up to this after you've been gone. I've written books, I've traveled, I've done this, I've done that. So it became just a letter. Like that's all it was. It was just a letter to show him that despite him not being here, I still turned out all right. I still turned out to kind of make my mark in this world. So that's what my third book was about. It's purely an ebook. It's not a
So
physical book.
I'm curious when you were young because my grandpa I thought very highly of mine as well, and some of
Yeah.
the things you talked about I shared that experience quite a bit. That made a big impact on you then to see what a big impact he made in that community. to see all those people come out. And that
Yeah,
that was a huge driving force for you to move forward with that. I really related to that. To
yeah. I was really carefree before I found out about the concept of death and like when people die, that's it. Like they're not coming back. I was very carefree, and then when I found out of all the stuff that he had been able to do, it was almost like an overnight switch. Like I very quickly went from being carefree to okay, I need to get my shit together. Like I don't know how long I'm going to be around. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. So I need to get my shit together. And I don't know how that's going to look, but I need to find something. I need to do something. I need to be productive in some kind of way. So yeah, I was very carefree before he passed. And then once he passed, it was like a overnight switch. And then I still like to have fun, but now I was like,
oh
okay,
yeah.
what can I do first? Like, what can I do for myself first, and then have fun later?
See, that's amazing. I was really young when my grandfather died, and it actually took me years of really smacking my head on rock bottom and whatnot to look back and go, man, that man had a big impact in my life. And he taught me how to do brake fall rolls, and I didn't realize it until I was going through windshields and stuff. But wow, that's my grandpa kind of me like living with his teachings through me. And grandparents are so essential, and so essential to us growing up. And it's good to hear that you had good grandparents too. I really looked up to my grandpa. So,
Do you want to know, as being a grandparent, how important it is to me? Like this guy was throwing a fit in there with them adults. Now coming here with me, calm and cool, and it's the fact that the energy is different because I'm
Yeah,
not the parent. I don't tolerate what they will tolerate because they know you're a baby. I don't play. We will have fun and we will have a grand time. But once you become an asshole and your energy affects me, then I will let you know that we don't do that here because I'm all about love and peace.
yeah,
I will not tolerate that whining and stuff. I'd be like, hey, mister, now get your shit together because your energy is starting to affect me now.
yeah,
yeah,
And they feel that. They're like, okay, this is somebody else who I really respect that I got to be on my P's and Q's. And he's only one, about to be two in
oh, yeah.
December. He gets this.
Grandma and grandpa law was different than our parents. It just it was. Oh, I really can't. I have to listen to this authority figure. They
That's
did
what I'm
it
saying. And that's
in
what
a
it is.
nurturing way. Yeah,
He'll slap his dad or his mom because he's a baby.
yeah.
He'll think about it to me and he'll be like, oh hell no, I can't. No, 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 not her. Not her.
that's
That's a different kind of person.
so that's good that you brought family in the book as well, especially the most impactful member of yours too, because it's such a big part of our lives.
But yeah, you know what? I have a different opinion on passing. I don't believe that they're gone. Just the frequency has changed, so they're still with us because a piece of them lives through us, and we're all connected to one.
Yeah.
So they're still within us, and we choose to not see them no more because we're on a different vibration and frequency than they are. Um, I don't see it as in dead though because energy never dies. And once I changed my mindset on that
Mhm.
way of thinking, I was able to grieve properly.
Hmm.
I didn't feel like I lost someone important. I feel like someone important is now a piece of me, and I will always have them living on through me.
Yeah. Definitely guide your steps. That's for sure. Um, but I think that sometimes it's very subtle. Like they might nudge you to do a thing. Like it's not always this grandiose, like coming down from the sky type of thing. Sometimes it's visiting you in a dream, or sometimes you may have an idea that doesn't really leave you. And I always feel like if the idea doesn't leave you, then it's meant for you to do something with it. So I do think, much like you said, that the spirit, grandfather spirits, motherly spirits, whatever type of relationship you may have had, they're always around, right? It just depends on what you do with the energy and if whether or not you're paying attention to it. But yeah, I agree. Like they're always around. They don't really, their physical body may no longer be here, but their spirit and where they guide you is always Like it's always around. So yeah, I agree.
So are
Yeah,
you on your fourth book now? What's your fourth book that you wrote? Was that your fourth one?
No, so that was my third.
Okay.
So my fourth was called Heavy as the Head for Those Who Wear Crowns, the
Okay.
entrepreneurial kingdom. And what got me into that
Mhm.
was recognizing that number one, I am an only child. And so a lot of the times I felt at the time that if I didn't do something, then it wouldn't get done because I was the only child. I didn't have any brothers and sisters to count on or anything of that nature. So I felt like whatever I was called to do, if I didn't do it, then it wouldn't get done. Right. So, and recognizing that when other people, I know that we talk about this all the time, but when other people speak things over you, it does have a certain impact on your life to a certain degree. And so when people say that I expect great things from you, but they don't tell you what type of great things, that can be intimidating when you hear it at first because it's like, well, okay, well, if you're expecting great things from me, then what am I supposed to look out for? Like, what am I supposed to watch out for? Right. And yeah, you find the answers as you go. But when somebody says something like that, like it can be intimidating. And for a while, like when it came to, because I view books as a form of leadership, I've grown to view them in that way because even though I can't be everywhere, somebody can relate to something that I wrote about or something I said, right? And they might find it in a book, they might find it wherever they find it. And so when I really started to look at books that way, it really shifted my, I guess, my writing process. It really shifted it when I started to look at books as not just a way for me to just express myself the way that I saw fit, but somebody somewhere is going to resonate with something I said at some point.
Mm.
And that's what also impacted the title, right? So heavy lies the head that was the crown. I changed it a little bit, but heavy lies the head that was the crown. And recognizing that I'm an only child, recognizing that I have or am developing and developing into some type of leader. I don't know what type of leader I'll be yet, but I have this thing that I just want to do, and I don't know where it's going to go or anything like that. But realizing all of those things and the different experiences that I've had, it was like, you know what? I want to birth more people that think unapologetically to a certain degree. Like I want to help in any way that I can, and I felt like different people from different walks of life can relate. Whether you're going to school for a master's degree, whether you want to be the best author that you could be, whether you want to travel the world, like whatever your main dream and big goal happens to be, uh, there's a little bit of pressure that comes with that. There's pressure that comes with that when you're the first, right? Like we talk about this a little bit, but when you're the first in your family to change the direction of whatever your family dynamic may have been, there's pressure with that. We don't talk about it, but there's pressure with being the first because you are the blueprint. You are the blueprint. There is no, well, my brother did it, so now I'm going to do it. Like, especially if you're the first. So when I came up with Heavy as the Head, that's what I was thinking about. I was like, all right, well, if I take a break, which side I haven't, but if I take a break, then I want people to say, you know what? I don't know when he's going to write again, but he loved what he did when he was doing it. Like, that's what I wanted people to feel. So that was book number four, Heavy as the Head for Those Who Wear Crowns, the Entrepreneur Kingdom. That was book number four.
Do you feel that there's a lot of stipulations and I don't want know the proper way of saying it, like responsibilities on you being the oldest? Do you feel that it was your job, so you felt it was harder just to be because you felt like you had to live up to this expectations that they had set up for you?
Well, yeah. And what I may have misworded it, but what I said was being the
Okay.
only child. Um,
that's
I
what I thought
had
you
been
said.
close to having brothers and sisters that came really close at one
I
point.
don't know if the only child makes a difference, to be honest with you. I had a older sister, and she was never around, and I was never around her really, and I still felt it. And I was the youngest. Well, I was the she was the oldest, but it went her and then me, and then a bunch of other sisters under me. And at the end of the day, I still felt like I had this obligation that I had to be a certain way because she messed up a lot. So
Yeah.
I had to walk a straight and narrow. So I
Yeah.
don't know if just the only child makes a difference. I think just when your parents
Hmm.
want to have you live the life they didn't get to live, they put a lot of agreements upon you to act a certain way. My
Yeah.
son is the only child though, so I do get that part.
Yeah. I think that when you feel like there's no backup,
Yeah,
right, and you want the backup, it's not that you don't want it, but there's no backup coming,
I get that.
and that is the I'm trying not to cuss, but that is the effed up part about
You can cuss.
uh,
Shit, I do it all the time.
Let it out.
uh,
Be
that
free.
effed up part,
Cussing releases endorphins.
They do, and only natural and honest people will cuss. They
that is
don't think; they just speak.
that is very true. That is the fucked up part about being the only child, and it's the part that people don't talk about, right? People say that, yeah, you're spoiled and you get whatever you want, but no, the fucked up part about being the only child is that when you do things, unless you find your
Hmm.
chosen fam, you're doing a lot of things on your own because the help that you want is not there and it's not coming. So unless you go out and you find people that really resonate with your spirit and what you're about, then you're going to spend a lot of moments just doing things on your own. And then the other side of that is that if you don't do anything, then nothing happens. So that is the fucked up part about being the only child is, yeah, it's great because you have freedom to a certain degree, but in hindsight, it's also fucked up because there's no backup. So if your mother gets sick and you have some type of relationship with your mom, then there's no little brother to call on. There's no little sister to call on. You kind of have to say, well, my mother needs me, my father needs me, whoever, depending on the relationship you have. And you may have to put some things off, right? So that's the fucked up part about being the only child is that there's no backup.
I used to tell my son that he can't get hurt because I don't have a backup. I used to tell him all the time, "You're my only one, so like I can't lose you. So like you've
Yeah.
got to do what I want, wear the helmet, do the things I want you to do because I can't afford to lose you because I don't have another one." So I get it. I used to tell him say he had to act a certain way because I didn't have a backup.
So do you think that helped the structure for you, like in a positive way? It must, it's lonely. I'm sure. I kind of turned my brother into a punching bag because of the problems I had at home most of my life, but I did have backup. It wasn't always like that. There was times of real shit where we actually, oh, this is a huge situation. I did have my brother there to just be another human even close to me. So I don't know if that taught you structure or not. Or,
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that there's a positive, and the positive is that I call it is giving me like this relentless force of just work ethic, right? And in hindsight, I've gotten a lot of respect for it, but it came from not waiting on people, not waiting on people to recognize that I love what I'm doing, to recognize that when I care about something, I truly, truly like care about it and all the stuff. It came from not waiting. And I think that that is one of the good things about being an only child is that you develop this thing of, well, I want to rest and I'm going to rest, but I also have these set of things I need to get done. So because nobody's coming to quote unquote save us, quote unquote, then I'm gonna just keep going. Like whatever it is, I'll figure it out. Like that's always been my mo is if it's something that I really want to do, I'll figure it out. It may take time and patience and all of those things, but if it's something in my heart of hearts that I'm meant to figure out, I usually do. And I think that is a being an only child has a part to play with that because I love the people that I've met like along the way that really let me be in that essence and that energy. But because I'm an only child, it gave me this just natural drive that I just have because I know that at the end of the day, nobody's really coming to save me. So if I don't do anything, then nothing gets done. Right. So it is a positive in that way. So there is a positive to it. Yeah. Like I
I
believe.
think being a single parent can relate to that too. I think just a
Mhm.
single something.
Yeah.
Jewsby, are you the only child?
I know I have a younger brother.
Oh, okay. So, I think that being a single parent's like that because, like, I've been a parent almost my whole life. I was 17 and a parent, so like, I had no backup, so I had to just take care of things on my own. So I think that just that independency. So I can see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah. And I mean, the the other part of it too is that you want people to help with the load of it. So it's not that you don't want the help. It's that people will help for like a season
Mhm.
and then they say, "Well, I've helped up until this point.
Mhm.
Now you have to do the rest again." And it's like,
Mhm.
"Well, what was the point of us building a partnership then if I'm going to have to do the majority of the work?" So independence is great, but do I love help? Fuck yes, I do. Like,
I feel
yes,
I feel
like
that.
fuck yeah, I do. Like, I love help. Like people that really show up and are like, you know what? I love what you're doing. I just want to help. Okay,
Yeah,
well then shit. Come on. Like,
feel
I
that.
welcome the help, but that is the other side of independence. And I think that sometimes we get so caught up in independence and like, yeah, I could do what I want to do, but da 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 da. But when you find somebody that really, really wants to help, cherish the fucking help.
Hmm.
Be an asshole. Cherish the help if they're really
Mhm.
trying to help and not
Yeah.
like about themselves. So yeah, I see where you're coming from.
So
Absolutely.
what was your sixth book? That's your fourth or fifth book.
That was my fourth.
Fourth book. Okay, your fifth because we talked about your sixth already. So what's your fifth book?
So my fifth book was called Hybrid, Being Superhuman Among People. And that was when I really started getting into affirmations and speaking things
Mm,
over myself. And I recognized that I resonate a lot with the character of Superman. I
okay.
resonate with him a lot because at work, Clark Kent or Superman is very mild mannered at work. He's clumsy. People don't suspect that outside of work, he's part of this amazing group of people, which is Justice League and all these things. But at work, he's very quiet, very much to himself. And I found that at this point, I had already written 6 books. I'd already had the podcast thing going, but I didn't tell anybody at work. Nobody at work knew about that, but the people in creative spaces like this, they know about that.
Hmm.
So I resonated with the whole Superman dynamic and the duality of it, and realizing that at work, yeah, like nobody knows what I'm up to outside of work. Nobody knows that I'm doing podcasting and books and all of these things. Nobody knows that, and I really started to resonate with the Superman aspect of it. And so I was like, you know what? I am my own Superman at the end of the day.
Mm.
I am. And I just owned it. And I went out and I bought a bunch of Superman gear to help me keep in that energy of moving at my own speed, helping people wherever I can, blazing a trail for myself, all of the things. Like I really went out and I went on a whole Superman binge. So I have coffee mugs, I have a tattoo, I have pendants, I have all the stuff, like workout gear and all the things. So I could stay in that energy whenever I wanted to.
I feel that.
So that's what my fifth book was about. It's called Hybrid. And then what I did was I actually started going around and asking people, so who's your favorite person?
Mm.
I got a bunch of different answers. So I found other heroes, quote unquote, that were fighting similar battles. And then we just became a team at the end of it. So I embodied the energy of Superman. So I'd find somebody who loved Deadpool. I'd find somebody who loved Batman. I'd find somebody who loved whatever they loved. And it just became a fun way to look at personal development because
Ah,
personal development, I love it, but it's oversaturated sometimes, I feel like, because every other day somebody's writing something, a book or whatever. So I felt like I just wanted a different take on it. So I was like, you know what? Superheroes are not going out of style anytime soon. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to find a way to incorporate that into what I'm already doing. So I just said that became my introduction to my podcast, actually. But that's what book five was about. It was just, it was a, what's the word? A different spin on some of the things that I was already talking about. But that was book number five.
I there's a character who's a lot like Superman. I just found out, Homelander. I relate to him so much. I'm going. It's great, so, but I like that. I seen your post with Spider Man and Captain America, and God help me, I actually love Captain America.
Yeah,
That guy's someone. Yeah, he's a badass.
I'm really witty, but I don't get that.
The analogy, like
Yeah,
with superheroes.
you said Homelander.
Oh, it's from a show called The Boys. He's an absolute
Oh, I don't watch TV.
Yeah,
That makes a
it's a
big difference.
character. Yeah.
sociopath with superpowers. Man, he's crazy.
I don't watch no TV at all. I'm up in the mountains with that. That's
Seriously,
why I didn't get it.
he's like, we need to get Henry out here. Stat.
Okay,
For sure.
I feel you. I was lost in that one.
I like that though. You can. That's why superheroes are there. People want to.
No, and
It's
that's another way. See, I did post it, so it makes sense. Anything to help you see yourself in a different. That's why I went a year without looking in the mirror. Anything to help you see yourself in a different image.
yeah,
I like that. I like that because then you have to walk in that light.
yeah. But the danger of it is superheroes are great, right? Kind of finding your own thing that speaks to your essence is great. But I think that you also have to know when to, I call it washing your cape. That's what I call it. You also have to know when to wash your cape and to take a day off. Because if not, then when people hear that you refer to yourself as Batman or Deadpool or Superman or whoever, then they think that they can have 24 access. Because I love superheroes, but within reason. And it's draining to always have people think that they can always have access. Like, it's draining to a certain degree. And so I think that you have to have boundaries and you have to know when to say, okay, I'm going to show for the world today or for this week or however long it is. But on Saturdays and Sundays, don't call me. Like, I'm off. I'm washing my cape. Like, I'm off. So I think that since you're talking about the whole superhero thing, it's great. And it sounds really cool and empowering to call yourself whatever you call yourself. But at the same time, boundaries, knowing when to be off on weekends and when to be on is really, really important.
I,
absolutely. And,
I
and and Deadpool's not above a bubble bath or anything either. You see it firsthand. Even they chill out sometimes. That's a good allegory for
so
how
what
you're
was your eighth book now, Ron?
seven.
So my
He did seven.
What was that? Oh, we skipped one.
so my no, actually I did. So my seventh,
Oh, because we talked about six. Six was all the different people.
yeah. So my seventh was called and like that gone. And it was recognizing that
No.
it could either mean travel or it could mean 1 minute you're talking to somebody and then the next, for whatever reason, they're gone. Like, based on tragic things or based on you guys just not talking. And that kind of goes back to something what I said before about the legacy piece of it. and realizing like, yeah, like sometimes it feels like that. Like I've had conversations with people as I've gone, and then I go back to say hello, and I found out that they passed away. Or you may have traveled someplace and you really enjoyed your time there, but you have to come back home, right? And in those moments, it can feel like, dude, like I just got here. Like, what the fuck? Like, do I really have to go back? Like, I really enjoyed my time here, whether that's a conversation or actually going someplace, however it may look. I really enjoyed my time here. I don't want to fucking go back. Like, I don't. But again, like, kind of speaking to the timepiece of it, um, when you go to a place that you haven't been and you really enjoy yourself, it can feel like that. Like, and just like that, you have to go back, or you're gone from the place that you enjoyed yourself in. And it's like, well, I want to plant my feet here. Like, I love this. Like, I want to plant my feet here, but you may have responsibilities back home that you may have to deal with, however that may look. So that's what my
Thank
second
you.
book is about. Is it's called "And Like That We're Gone." Finding your own jet fuel on your path to successes or success. That's what actual title. And it was speaking about the concept of time. Like even with restaurants, you may have a restaurant that you go to like all the time, and then you go by that same place, and the restaurant is replaced by a new restaurant, or it's replaced by something new. So you kind of get, I'm not going to say attached, but you become, what's the word, nostalgic about a specific time that you may have enjoyed yourself, or whatever the case. So my seventh book was really about like the concept of time and really enjoying the conversations, enjoying the places you've been, enjoying the ideas you may have, like just enjoying life, just period, right? Like having a conversation with somebody in the park. Like to everybody else, it may seem really minute and small, but you may have an amazing time just going to the park and like having like a talk with somebody. So I was really just in reflection when I wrote that. And again, it's called "And Like That We're Gone." That's the name of my seventh book.
I'd kill to walk through a blockbuster again. I'm just saying that would be a lot of fun. But I like that. I like that. You gotta get a lot of good premises for a book.
For the
It's
record,
not just
I do miss
entrepreneurial.
I do miss Blockbuster. That was my favorite place.
Nostalgia is important, and we got to know that sometimes we can't go back there, but our minds are a good place to revisit that. Because I'll never go. You can't go back to a blockbuster. There is no. I don't think.
That part, man, that part.
So, what's your eighth book?
So my eighth book is just recent, actually. It's called "Make Your Own Luck." Called "Make Your Own Luck," and that came from realizing that in a lot of the situations I've been in, I've had to make my own luck. It didn't necessarily come from people saying, "Hey, you know what? David loves this particular thing, so let me put him onto an opportunity, however that may look." It came from me recognizing, you know what, this really fits what I want to experience. This really fits where I'm going. This really fits just me at my very core. So if I didn't say anything, just quiet about it, and I didn't say anything, none of those experiences would have happened. Whether it was being invited to award shows, whether it was traveling, however it may have looked, if I didn't say anything and I was just quiet about it and I just let it roll off my shoulders to a certain degree, I wouldn't have had those experiences. Whether it was an award show, whether it was becoming a best-selling author, whether it was traveling, like however, whatever great experience it was, none of that would have happened if I had just stayed to myself. And it didn't necessarily come from somebody saying, "Hey, man, you know what? I see that you have a love for writing. Let me invite you like on stage or something like that." But it came from me recognizing, like, you know what? I love this, so I'm just gonna go for it. If something great happens, then fine. But I'm just gonna go for it. And realizing that in many of those scenarios and situations, I've had to make my own luck. I want to encourage other people to do that. I want to encourage other people to make their own luck. And now that I've made that my intention with this particular book has become a universal message. So it's not just it's not just what I'm doing, but now it's translated into musicians, right? So maybe as a musician, you recognize that you've had to make your own luck because you've been consistent with what you're doing. So now people are catching on to the quiet work that you've been putting in all of this time. So on the outside, it looks like you've been doing this forever, but you've been practicing your craft, right? When nobody's watching. So now when you show up in front of execs and people that are higher up, or however it may look, now they're like, you know what? Let's just go. Like, let's go do something. You love what you're doing. Making your own luck is what my last book was about, and it's really just become like a universal message, and encouraging people, however it may look, to make yours, like to make your own luck, and it's different for everybody. So it's not a one size fits all or anything like that. So make your own luck is my most recent book that I come up with.
I like it. I like that fact because I think being lucky is really subjective to a lot of people. Um,
Mhm.
I guess I feel lucky in a lot of ways, um, even though I don't have a lot of things that other people have. But I guess even just being able to wake up and breathe a happy, sober breath is really a lucky considering thing. For me, I waited an hour and 7 minutes. Okay, hour and
Nah,
7. Waking up and breathing a sober breath is something I feel lucky about. So maybe it's not piles of money laying around your mansion. You can feel lucky. Lucky you're just a writer. That's awesome.
But it's not even about the money piece, right? Like I think that luck is, like you said, subjective, and luck could apply to anything. Like maybe you go outside and you go to the grocery store and somebody pays for your groceries without you asking. Maybe you go to the park and you run into somebody that you really click with or that you resonate with. So it's not always money. It's not always money, but I do believe that there is a little bit of luck involved in whatever you're doing. Set the intention, but yeah, I do think that there is a little bit of luck involved. It's not everything, obviously, but yeah, like I think that there's a little bit of luck involved. And it doesn't have to be money, it doesn't have to be anything grandiose. It could be you going, like I said, to the grocery store and somebody paying for your groceries because you paid for somebody else's groceries at a different point. So now you're just
Yeah,
getting that karma back. So yeah, like it could apply to anything.
it's been pretty nice outside. Lucky ducky. I get to do shit
Exactly.
outside. Yeah.
right.
So, what's your ninth book and your 10th book going to be about?
Hmm. So my ninth book, I've already started working on it actually, but my ninth book is a day in the life of a maverick, um, encouraging people to be free thinkers. There's nothing wrong with coming together as a group, but I think that there's danger when you become too dependent on the group, right? Because what happens when a group gets disbanded? Now everybody has to go back to their original thoughts, their original individualities, or whatever it was. And
Oh, no.
in this particular book, I tell people all the time, but I do believe in God, absolutely. He is a driving force behind some of my stuff. And so that is one of the things that I'm going to be talking about is what do you do when God wants you to cut somebody off, but you disagree, right? That happens too. Like that type of stuff happens too. So a day in the life of a maverick is going to be number 9, and really embracing the free thinker, like embracing the free thinker energy. I feel like a lot of us have it in us, but we show bits and pieces to the world of it, right? So embracing the free thinker energy is what a day in the life of a maverick is going to be about. And then my 10th book, is based on my journey in the fragrance space because that's another space that I'm in. And some of my fragrances match up with the books that I've written. I don't do
Mhm.
it for every book, but depending on what I'm talking about in the book, I can make a fragrance based on what I'm writing about. And so I wanted to make it easy for people to find. So I'm going to be talking about like descriptions, past scents that I've made, um, what got me involved in perfume, like in the first place. Like, but that book is going to be really short. Like, it's going to be because it's just descriptions mainly about what my fragrances and scents are about. But those are my next two books at the moment: A Day in the Life of a Maverick and Aces, Lions, and Kings: A Bespoke Guide to Fragrances. Those are my next like two books.
Can I give you a suggestion?
Sure.
Finding your tribe,
Hmm.
because we don't know who we are. We don't know who we are. People are lost in this realm and not knowing who they are and where they belong until they find their tribe. And we're all searching for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I received that. I received that wholeheartedly.
You've noticed the difference once you started finding your tribe?
I do. Um, Definitely more willing to listen when I find my tribe and people that just let me be. And I'm not confined. I'm not restricted. That's how I know who's in my tribe is when
Mm,
I don't feel like I have to mince words. I don't feel like I have to walk on eggshells when we have a difference of opinion. And a difference of opinion doesn't mean that I hate you or you hate me. It's just we see the world differently, which is fine. But it doesn't mean I love you any less. Doesn't mean that you love me any less. It's just that we've had different experiences, and so we're just coming together in this particular moment. So yeah, yeah, absolutely. I received that.
yeah. I'd read that. I would read that. Well, listen to it on audiobook. Is your book on audiobook?
So I'm working on making your own luck an audiobook right
Okay.
now. So that's actually something that I'm going to be doing with all of, like my future books is making
Okay.
them also into audiobooks.
Okay.
Because I've been encouraged by a couple of people to do that, and I'm finally like listening. So
Yeah.
I'm going to definitely be stepping into that arena too. Uh, is audiobooks, yeah. So that's on the horizons, most definitely. That's on the horizons, yeah.
I know Henry's my tribe, part of my tribe, and I know that life is differently since Henry came into my life, and I don't feel alone.
Mm,
Some people may be intimidated by it because I'll be like, well, I'll just talk to Henry and ask Henry and stuff, and I don't mean to. It's just that he's got more time and he listens, and he'll walk me through steps because it's hard. If it's hard for me, I know it's really hard for him, and
yeah,
if he can figure it out, then there's no reason I can't.
yeah.
Yeah, I get along with you, so it does the same effect for me. So we help each other a lot. It's really nice.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
It's hard when you're different in this realm and you don't think like everybody else and you don't see life like everybody else to find somebody like-minded. Jewsby's part of my tribe and he just don't know it yet.
I'm
I'm
getting
gonna
there.
meet him one day because we're a lot alike. We think so similar on different things, and one day.
It's on the
Not
horizon for
day, not
sure.
day one.
And he's always looking up towards the future. I like that. Very pleased with that.
Most definitely.
Oh, Henry.
If I don't know what to say, I'll just try and say funny things and see if it sticks to the wall and slides down.
It is.
You know what I love about people that are in your tribe. Now I'm going to speak for self because I don't know nothing else besides self.
Hmm.
Being a female, being Caucasian, and having ethers and looking like I look. When
Hmm.
you find your tribe, they don't look at you for anything less than what you are. They look at your soul and inside of you, and they see your spirit. They don't see your shell.
Yeah,
They don't judge you for what you look like, and it's not a bad thing.
yeah.
I'm an addict and I have a really bad addiction and I'm doing so well on my addiction. And my addiction is a drug to me, but it's not drugs. I have a different form of addiction.
Hmm.
And nonetheless it's still an addiction. And to be around other people like men and stuff, even females, with
Mhm.
my addictions really hard for me because of how I look and how I sound and who I am. Because a
Yeah.
lot of people are attracted to someone's light,
Yeah.
especially when they don't have their own. So when I walk outside, and I tend to wear baggy clothes and stuff like that because of I don't want my body seen because I've been labeled because of how I look.
Hmm.
So I will mask. Covering my ethers have nothing to do with that. That's a spiritual thing. Um, but anything else, like I wear baggy clothes, I don't show a lot of skin. None of my pictures are revealing like that because I'm wanted as a sex symbol to be looked at
Hmm.
and judged upon because of how I look. And to find somebody in your tribe, they don't look at you that way. They look at your spirit and your soul. They don't look at your body and the human flesh. And they don't want you. Like I tried ending my life plenty of times because of how I looked, because I've been abused physically, mentally, and sexually,
Hmm.
and I have a sex addiction. So having that,
Yeah.
people see that as, oh, that's just an info, or that someone just likes to have sex all the time. And they don't really see it as an addiction because it's not the normal addiction.
Yeah.
They
Nonetheless, it
don't see
is
it at all.
at all. And nonetheless, it is though, because I deal with things every single day that nobody knows about.
And it's so damaging, all kinds of addictions are and things we can't see with people.
Yeah. I mean, I think that even since we're talking about addictions, for a long time I was addicted to working.
Hmm.
Why? Because when I'm dealing with my work, I don't have to deal with heartbreak.
Hmm.
I have to deal with thinking about people that I wanted to be here that aren't here. So my way of trying to get over that, keyword is trying, is, or at the time it was just jumping headfirst into my work and not thinking about the people that I may have missed along the way, or whatever the case may be, until after I finished working. So it took friends, it took people realizing that you need balance. It took certain things from the outside for me to see I was addicted to working, because when I'm working,
Don't touch it. Let him sleep.
I didn't have to deal with things that may have made me sad in that moment. I didn't have to deal with heartbreak or anything like that. Why? Because when I was working, I could block out all of that stuff and be about what I'm working on, like right now. So since we're talking about addictions, for a while, I was addicted to working because when I worked, I could put my feelings and thoughts to the side, at least for a couple of hours, however long it might have lasted, and just be about my work. And then once I finished my work, then I could go back to however I might have been feeling. But yeah, I was addicted to working. So I feel you on the
I
addiction
think,
aspect of
I
it.
think it's more common, to be honest with you, David. I think that's a real common thing because there's a lot of reasons why I've talked to people who overwork or work themselves to death when they don't have to.
Yeah.
It is because it's cover up trauma. It's to have more. It might be the only way they find faith in themselves, or can say, "I'm doing a good job." It's just throwing themselves into work, and it does. It,
Yeah.
like all addictions, it can be crushing.
And I'm glad you touched base on that, Henry. And this is why I love you so. Because David, I wanted to ask you, and I forgot. Like, because I get sidetracked. I
Mhm.
seen a squirrel, but anyhow, I wanted to ask you. Do you find writing your books and being an author as doing like shadow work, helping you heal?
Yeah, I do. I do acknowledge that it is a form of therapy. It's not just my way of wanting to make a living, but it's therapeutic, right? Because as I hinted at when we first started this conversation, when you're doing that shadow work, or when you're in a space where you can just be, there's a sense of really and true like freedom that comes with that, because you're not hindered by anyone else. You don't have to mince words. You don't have to. do any of the things that in a day to day you have to do with people. And I love people. I really, but sometimes in the midst of conversation, you can forget a thought because
Mm.
somebody might have interrupted you in the midst of your thought. But when you're writing and you're finding other ways to express yourself, you don't necessarily have to worry about that. You can be free, like purely free, not just talking about it, but you can be purely free. And that's why um, I love writing so much. Like I didn't get into it to make a living, although I have, and I'm grateful. But that wasn't my real original reason for doing it. I just had these things that I needed to get off my chest, and I felt like I couldn't necessarily express those with others. And I was like, well, I'm not going to make myself sick. So whether it comes up in a book, whether it comes up in a podcast, I'm just going to say it. Like I'm just going to take a chance and say it. And so, yeah, like I do acknowledge that as much as I love sharing it with others and sharing it with the world, there is a therapeutic and shadow work part of it too. Because in those spaces, like I'm free to say whatever it is that I want to say without having to mince words. So yeah, I acknowledge that it's a bit of therapy outside of finding other people that relate to what I said. Like it's a bit of therapy as well. So yeah, absolutely.
I like that. What advice would you give somebody who wants to be an author? Because I know a lot of people that want to get their books out there. What advice do you give them?
Be kind to yourself in the process of doing it. You're going to come up onto certain feelings, certain emotions that you may have thought were buried or you may have thought that you forgot about.
Mm,
And they're going to come up and you're going to get pissed off. You're going to cry throughout the process of your book. You're going to feel like, well, shit. So this is what I've been holding in like all of this time. Like you're going to feel all of that stuff and take your time doing it. Don't feel like you have to do it in 30 days. Like if you do it in 30 days, then that's great, right? Like more power to you, but it's not a requirement. Like you don't have to kill yourself to get this book out. When it's meant for you to drop the book, you will. So, right, exactly. Give yourself grace. Don't feel like you have to do it within 2 weeks or 30 days or whenever you get started. Like find your own frequency to be on and then stay on that frequency. Don't allow people to say, so, when's your book coming out? To pressure you into writing the book faster than you normally would have.
do you find yourself not telling people that you're writing a book until you're done writing it?
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's, and this might be something that people don't talk about, but there's a exchange of energy when you finally decide to write the book, whether it's 20 pages, 100 pages, however it may look. There's an exchange of energy there. And if you tell people, hey, listen, I'm writing a book, and somebody says, well, I like the direction of your book, but I think that you should put this in there.
Mm.
Okay, but I received that, but that's not the direction that I was going in. And I find that keeping it to yourself, unless somebody knows you're writing, then that's different. But keeping it to yourself protects you from outside energy that may taint your book. Because without realizing it, sometimes people they do taint your creativity. They do taint your book. They taint your music. So I do keep the book content to myself. I'll share the book cover, but in terms of the content and what I'm working on in the book, yeah, I keep that to myself until I feel it's 80% finished, and then I'll share it with people. But I'll share the
I
book.
relate to that.
What
I
you
played a
say?
couple. I played a couple unfinished songs for people, and they never got finished.
Exactly.
I do relate to that.
Jewsby, do you have anything to ask or to add to? Because you matter.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to ask him a question about his writing process. Like as far as
Hmm.
how you come up. with your books? Like, are any of the ideas like sporadic or spur of the moment, or do you have a certain process that you go through before you start writing your books?
Yeah. So see, this is why I also don't watch TV because my brain is always on.
Mm.
I'll zero in on something that sounds like a dope book cover or a dope book title, and then that becomes like the title of the book. So,
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I got kind of like a similar process. That's kind
and
of,
even with
yeah.
music, like
Yeah.
I find songs that relate to the book that I'm writing about, like all the time. So I'm always listening to music at some point. And when I came up with "Heavy Is the Head," I was listening to. If you guys want to look it up, you can. I was listening to "Castle Walls" by Christina Aguilera and Ti. I think that's who came up with that song. It's a really dope song, but it fit what I was writing about in the book. It fit that because I was talking about becoming your own king, finding your crown, so on and so forth. That's what I was talking about. So I either find a song that's related to the book I'm working on, or I'll be watching something on like YouTube because I don't really watch TV. So I'll find something on YouTube and I'll be like, oh, wait, you know what? That sounds like it would be a dope title for a book. And then that becomes like a new book title. So it's either YouTube or music are my two go tos for like ideas. And then the actual content in the book is very much free flow. Like it's very much freestyle and free flow. But I'm always listening to music or watching YouTube to come up with the actual book title.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope.
I too quit listening to TV. I do watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, but it's often pertinent to what I'm studying and everything like that. It's been
Hmm.
pretty good.
Do you feel that you are more peaceful now that you've been writing? That you gave yourself so much grace and that you're peaceful now with the world? Like you have this inner peace?
Yeah. And it's actually why, like, when I show up in spaces, I show up as, like, I call it a clean slate.
Mm.
So it lets me be as present as I could possibly be. Like, this conversation right now with you guys is dope and I love it. So my brain's not elsewhere. Like, my brain is focused strictly on you guys because I'm always writing, I'm always getting things off my chest. I don't keep anything in. So it allows me to just be like a blank canvas. And whatever space I show up in, whether it's for an hour or 2 hours, whatever the time frame happens to be, I'm present the entire time because I'm always getting stuff off my chest. And it's not like I'm physically here, but then mentally I'm somewhere else. So it lets me be present like all the time. So yeah, I would say so.
Is it a form of meditation for you?
It is. It is, yeah, because it lets me when the world has gone to sleep, it lets me just be in a space of presence and just being honest. So it is also like a form of like meditation outside of going on YouTube and looking something up. It is also another form of meditation. So I would say so, yeah.
My daughter-in-law writes in a journal, and when she's done with it, she burns it or throws it away. And she's probably done through 20 since I've known her in a couple years. So,
Mm,
like, imagine what her whole lifetime is. And I told her she needs to publish some of those, and she's like, she don't think it's good enough for anybody who wants to read, and she doesn't realize that a lot of people are afraid to say things,
yeah,
and
yeah,
when they hear it in a song or they see that somebody else said it, I think books are better than movies. So when they read it in a book or they hear it in a song, they're able to relate with it more and they feel like they're not alone.
yeah. Yeah,
Because,
that is also something that I spoke about in one or two of my books. Is like obviously we can't be everywhere, right? Like physically we can't be everywhere. But can you leave something to remind people that you were there? Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I love that. I would read her book. I would read her book if she had one out. Like,
I'm telling her, I keep telling her to. I'm telling you, she does it all day. And when she feels like, no one's listening to her,
yeah,
I mean, she goes and talks to a therapist and whatnot. I'm not putting too much out.
yeah,
Um, She still does her own stuff to release her stuff.
Hmm.
But when she feels like no one's listening or that she's just having a rough day, she pulls out a journal and starts writing and a piece of paper and just starts writing. And she writes so much about everything.
Yeah.
And when she's done, she's calm.
Mm.
And she's a Scorpio, so I'm glad she does that because she could be burning up houses. I'm just saying, them Scorpios are pretty rough with their energy.
Yeah.
She could be doing a lot of other things because that's just who she is.
So, David,
Yeah.
would you say that you're a creature of solitude, or do you like to be around people?
Uh,
What's more inspirational?
I enjoy people in spurts. I enjoy people in spurts. A lot of the time, I like being on my own time. But if it's somebody that I really like resonate with and we really just click, I find that that's like the most amazing time spent versus a bunch of like lukewarm people, right? So because I spend a lot of time like in solitude and being on my own time, when I do show up in groups, I value the people in the group because I
Mhm.
spend so much time in solitude. So I would say that I love spending time with people in spurts, but I like being on my own time. I'd say that.
For sure. It can be overwhelming too. I get really overwhelmed. I do. I don't show it. I like a lot of chaos, and then I have cool down times quite a bit. I like
And
like
I'm polar opposite. I only like who I like. I don't want a lot of people around my energy. I pick and choose who to speak
Mhm.
to because I'd rather not say nothing
Yeah.
than waste energy on unwanted. So I
it's
pick and choose. I listen. I'm so bad. If somebody comes in my inbox and they say hi, I will block them.
But
I ain't
absolutely
lying. I ain't
it's
lying. I blocked a lot of people, and someone was like, "I thought I did something wrong." I was like, "Nope, it's not you. It's me."
it's not it's dry conversations can be really, and a lot of them on mass can be really freaking draining.
yeah.
Um, but heart to hearts with real close people, I think I can do that longer. But still, you get burnt. I still get burnt out from it
I get
sometimes.
burnout. I'm hyperstimulated of too much. It's called sensitive. What's it called? I forgot what it's called. Something sensitive.
Hypersensitive.
Maybe hypersensitive of energy. Yeah, because I can feel it. I feel. I don't see things. I don't hear things. I feel. So I feel everybody's energy throughout me. It's like a
I, I
magnet.
I had to ask him that just pertinent to being a writer. I guess there's kind of a weird thing where they say writers are all like recluses. I don't know if they say it or all that, but I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say that, like, you don't have to be a recluse to be a writer. I'm a recluse. I don't write.
Jewsby, do you like a lot of people?
Oh no, I definitely don't like large crowds, which is kind of crazy because I'm an entertainer. But it's I value my peace. Let's just say that.
Yeah. I pick and choose who I associate with. Because honestly, it's not that I don't like. I tell people don't invite me to the group in a chat and stuff, and I'm like, I probably will leave, and I probably won't talk. And I'm just being honest with you. It's not nothing against you. I promise it's not nothing against you. It's me. I protect my peace, and
Yeah.
I don't like wasting my time. And I think a lot of things are wasting time. I'd rather be doing nothing. I'm being honest.
Yeah. I mean, even I think that there's a certain level of, since we're talking about it, I think that there's a certain level of peace that comes with like being on your own time, especially when you are like a creative. Like when I'm on my own time, I don't have a set hour on when I write. I kind of just let it come when it's supposed to. Because I used to do that. Like I used to say, well, I'm going to write from 6 to 8, but then it'll be 10 o'clock and I'm still writing. So I let whatever I'm going to come up with in this moment, like I just let it come. I'm not trying to put myself in a box. So I think that there's a certain level of peace that comes with being on your own time. Like, and it's not selfish. I don't think so. Like, I don't think that is selfish because some, like you guys are saying, like some people will take all of your time and then look at you like, yo, why did you waste my time? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, because they will, like, on purpose. So I don't think that being on your own time is a selfish thing. I don't think so.
It's not, especially if you're a creative. The things that you're producing don't necessarily have a blueprint or something down on, and you get struck with inspiration at random times,
Yeah.
and that's just kind of part of the process. But I guess in a world where schedules seem to dominate so many things, it's kind of hard for a lot of people to wrap their head around. But it's still the end product you get when you're really moved to do that. It really produces some great things. Like, it's you got to value your own time. You really got to value your own time, and you can't feel bad about putting up boundaries for people, especially in the DMs and everything. When people take up your time and then get upset with you, like that's kind of where the dividing line is. That so many people will take offense to boundaries, and I
Yeah.
mean, it's something that a lot of people are now working on with podcasts and self help groups. So, boundaries are important, and they're not mean or malicious. Often do that, but
So the great thing about this, it ends in a couple minutes. So this is only a 2 hour because it's free, but nonetheless, it's 2 hours is a long time.
Mhm.
So um, we're gonna wrap this up. Everybody's gonna say something about what the title means to them and give it inspiration. Help people that hear this. What you think will help them. So David, I'm gonna start with you and then go to Jewsby and then Henry. So your turn, David.
So I'm going to say, to encourage people to
Mm-hmm.
continue to make your own luck and enjoy these moments because pretty soon you'll have to be prepared for the next moment. And you don't realize how quick time flies until you really find something worth devoting your time to. So enjoy the moment while you have it because before you know it, it'll be time for you to document this moment and then prepare for the next. So be grateful of any like dope conversation that you may have, but cherish the time spent, whether it's an hour or 5 hours, whatever the time frame may be. So enjoy this moment because then you have to prepare for the next one.
Jewsby.
The greatest minds are often the most misunderstood.
Mm.
Hmm.
Make sure you clean your spiritual house. Make sure you keep it nice and neat. Make sure you chase and you pursue whatever it is God put you here to do, chase or pursue, because that is your duty.
Mm.
Paramount to anything else in this world. Trust and believe it.
What did you say about dirty feet walking through your mind?
No more dirty feet walking through my mind. If your intentions aren't pure, you can't occupy any of my mental space. That's for sure.
And then I love that because that girl's like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, it's all spiritual for sure. You
Yeah,
got to do some soul searching. I'm speaking in different wavelengths, so
yeah. I
we got
told
a
her to
lot
clean
more
her
work.
house.
We got a lot more work to do, but we on the right track.
Mhm. Henry.
um, let's see. If you want to make your mark on this world, you're going to do it by doing something you love, and just pay attention to those agreements and everything put on you. Uh, and keep looking at those doors, maybe in that hallway that they were just talking about, because you'll find one that you really like walking through. It's really worth putting your time into.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think we did good.
So my closing will be and Henry, you gotta have your guitar by you because you gotta do it tonight. You can't keep slacking. Anyways, so
It's not here.
you're lying.
No, it's not here. I'm recording in the studio. I'm actually recording my album.
Okay. All right, man.
I
So
was that's why I cut your call off earlier. So.
okay.
I wouldn't play it through here anyway. It's everyone says it sounds like a washing machine is going in the background when my mic is on. So I'm simultaneously
Oh,
turning
okay.
on and off to talk. It's
Okay.
maddening.
Okay. So what I want to say is that if you want difference in this world, be the difference. Don't look for someone else to give it to you. We all feel like we're alone at times, and we all feel misunderstood, and we all feel like unrelatable. But at the end of the day, once you find your tribe and find that we all mirror each other, what you put out is what you get in return. So remember that. Be kind, love yourself, and love everyone because someone's going through something
Hmm.
and they're trying to grow through it. So be kind and just be generous and great and give yourself grace and give them grace. So at the end of the day, all I got to say is love is the answer. And it starts with loving you and then it goes to others. Love. So may everyone's night be full of positive energy and high vibrations. And thank you for tuning in. We are the People's Podcast. Peace and love, everyone. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ooh, you did it.
I don't know how to end it.
That's a problem. Seek therapy. No.
I'm serious.
Oh, we are live. Yeah, no, I'm messing with you. I don't know how to end it
Oh,
either.
here it is.
Thanks for taking.